The few months after everyone was settled were good. The sisters would call now and then. Early on, they called often, each taking turns to talk to Adanne and to Obiora. They described the interviews they were going to, the places they visited in Lagos, and how different life in the city was. Some calls were filled with homesickness. Mercy especially missed the quiet of the village at night and the clear skies, because in Lagos, the hustle and noise never fully stopped, and the sky was often obscured by light and smog. Oloma missed simple things like the fresh vegetables from their garden and the easy familiarity of knowing every neighbor. Adanne listened to their stories patiently, offering encouragement and gently reminding them of why they were there. Don't worry, you will both adjust, and you will find good jobs soon, by God's grace, she would say. She told them about how things were at home, how their old school teacher asked after them, or how the neighbor's goat had given birth to twins. Little trivial news to make them laugh and feel connected to home. Obiora had his own adjustments. Running a shop was new to him, and business was slow at first. There were days when not a single customer came by, except perhaps someone asking for directions. He grew a bit discouraged, but Adanne kept his spirits up. It takes time to build a business. She told him, keep at it, be friendly to everyone. Let them know what services you offer. Eventually, word will spread. Gradually, the shop did gain some customers. A farmer came to fix a broken radio. A young man asked for help with his mobile phone that wouldn't charge. Obiora managed to fix these items for a small fee, and word went around that the young man was good at repairs. The earnings were modest, but it was a start. Meanwhile, months in Lagos turned into a year, then over a year. The calls from the sisters became less frequent as they got busier. Both Oloma and Mercy eventually found something to do. Oloma landed an internship at an accounting firm, which, while not highly paid, gave her experience and a small stipend. Mercy started teaching at a private primary school. It wasn't her dream job at a big government school, but it was a stepping stone, and she was earning some salary as well. With jobs, the sisters' lives grew busier and their world expanded. They made new friends among colleagues and neighbors. Sometimes when Adanne called them, they were too tired to talk for long, or they would rush off the phone saying they had something to do. It was understandable. Of course, Lagos life was hectic. Adanne did not take it personally at first. She continued to be the doting sister from afar. Every month or two, when she could afford it, she would travel to Lagos to visit Oloma and Mercy. She never went empty-handed. She always packed a bag or box with things for them: homemade chin-chin, a fried snack for them to munch on, dried vegetables from home, maybe some clothes she had sewn for them or for them to use. She also often brought some money, even if just a small amount, to slip to them for emergency or just to treat themselves. The first visit, the sisters welcomed her warmly. They showed her around the tiny apartment proudly, even though she had seen it when she first got it for them. They had put up a few decorations, a small calendar on the wall, a bright plastic flower vase on the table to make it homey. They cooked her a simple dinner, insisting she relax for once. They shared stories late into the night. They did complain about how tough city life was, the traffic, the long work hours, the high cost of everything. Adanne listened sympathetically, massaging Oloma's feet as she spoke, or braiding Mercy's hair while she vented. She gave them advice where she could and plenty of emotional support. The first visit felt like a reaffirmation of their bond. When Adanne left back to the village, the sisters thanked her very well and even gave her a small gift they had bought, a new headscarf that they noticed she admired at a street stall. She was touched. The second visit, a few months later, was different. When she arrived that time, it seemed she had come at a busy moment. Oluoma had been studying to take a professional exam for accountant and was deep in her books. Mercy was preparing lesson plans and was distracted. They greeted her, but it was less enthusiastic. They were not expecting her that particular day because Adanne had decided to surprise them after hearing their tired voices on the phone a week ago. Perhaps surprising them was not wise. She thought a surprise would cheer them up, but it seemed to inconvenience them instead. That evening, they all sat together, but the sisters were more preoccupied. Adanne noticed that while they were still kind, there was a certain impatience, as if they considered the visit an interruption of their routine. She brushed it aside, thinking maybe they were just stressed. The visit after that, which happened after nearly another half year, was even more awkward. By that time, Oluoma had gotten a permanent job at the accounting firm as a junior accountant, and Mercy had secured a better teaching position at a high school, which she was thrilled about. They were now earning more steady incomes. With that came a little more independence and social life. They had moved to a slightly nicer apartment with 2 rooms instead of 1, pooling their salaries, and that slight move up meant new neighbors of a higher social status, new appearances to keep up. They had told Adanne about the move, but she had never seen the new place. She only had the address, which she carefully wrote down, planning to visit when she could. When Adanne decided to visit them at the new apartment, she informed them ahead of time, wanting to avoid the mistake of surprising them. Oluoma had sounded hesitant on the phone. "Oh, you are coming. When exactly?" she asked. Adanne told her the date she planned, and there was a pause. That might be a bit tricky, sister," Oluoma said. "That week is quite hectic for me at work, and messy too. And the house is not very tidy right now. Maybe you should wait a bit." Adanne felt a slight sting at that, but she laughed it off. "Don't worry about the tidy house. Who is coming to inspect? I'm just coming to see my sisters. If you are busy, I won't disturb you, I promise. I can help around the house while you two are at work even." "Well, if you insist," Oluoma concluded. "At least let me talk to Mercy and see if she's free to maybe take you around when I'm working." In the end, nobody asked her not to come, so Adanne made the journey. She arrived in Lagos in the morning and went straight to the address of the new apartment. It was in a bustling neighborhood, but a bit better than the last. An actual apartment building with multiple floors and a security gate man. She was impressed that her sisters had managed to move up like this. It showed they were doing well. At the gate, she told the uniformed gate man whom she had come to see. He looked at her, then at the loads she carried. She had a big woven basket full of goodies from home balanced on her head, as well as a travel bag. Perhaps she looked a bit out of place with her simple village attire in that setting. The gateman, trained to be cautious, asked her to wait outside while he contacted the occupants. A few minutes later, she came to the gate. She looked slightly flustered, though she tried to smile. She was dressed for work and apparently about to head out. "Sister, you are here," she said, unlocking the gate to let Adanne in. Adanne embraced Mercy, but noticed Mercy didn't hold on as tightly as before. "I'm so happy to see you, my dear," Adanne said. Mercy coughed and stepped back. "I'm happy to see you too." I'm sorry, I was just on my way to work. I have a class to teach this morning, and Oloma already left early for a meeting at her office. Oh, I'm sorry I timed it badly. Adanne apologized. It's okay. I can stay at your place until you both return from work. I don't mind waiting. I can even help tidy up, do some cooking. Ah, okay, Mercy said, but her tone sounded unsure. They walked together into the compound and up a flight of stairs to the apartment. The apartment itself was small but nicely arranged. There were a couple of pieces of new furniture, maybe things the sisters had bought now that they had salaries. A soft couch, a decent table, some cheerful curtains. Adanne commented pleasantly on these things, and Mercy shrugged. Yes, we were tired of that old mattress on the floor, so we got a couch and a bed. Mercy seemed in a hurry. She drank some water and grabbed her bag. I'm really sorry, I can't stay now, sister. Please make yourself at home. I'll be back later in the afternoon after classes. Oloma might be late today. She said something about an after work event or something like that. Oh, alright, that's fine. I'll be fine here, Adanne said, though she felt a bit disappointed. She had hoped to spend more time with them, but it couldn't be helped. They had their own schedules. After Mercy left, Adanne set about cleaning the apartment. Not that it was messy, but she felt the need to be useful. She swept the floor, washed a few plates left in the sink, and then started cooking. She had brought ingredients for their favorite bitterleaf soup with smoked fish. She wanted to surprise them with a nice dinner. The act of preparing the soup took her mind off her loneliness. However, as she moved around, she also noticed things that made her reflect. There were many items in the house that were new and unfamiliar. Stylish shoes and handbags were lined up in one corner, likely Oloma's, given she worked at an office and probably needed to dress smartly. Mercy had some trendy clothes hanging in the wardrobe too. There was a shiny new electric kettle in the kitchen and other small appliances. Adanne felt proud that they were managing to improve their lives. But a tiny voice in her wondered if they even remembered the hardships of the village days. She pushed that thought away. Of course they did. And they earned these nice things through their own hard work too. She shouldn't be so old-fashioned as to expect them not to enjoy their own new income. Evening came and Mercy returned, looking tired. She was pleasantly surprised by the aroma of the soup. Oh, sister, you cooked. Ah, I've missed your cooking, oh, she said, seeming more like her old self for a moment. They ate together, and Mercy's earlier coldness seemed to thaw a bit as hunger and the comfort of home-cooked food made her relax. She chatted about her day and her students. Adanne listened eagerly, laughing at the funny jokes Mercy shared about the children in her class. It grew late, and still Oloma had not returned. Mercy checked her phone and sent a text. She explained to Adanne that Oloma sometimes had to attend networking events or social gatherings for work connections. And that night might be why she delayed. Finally, around 9 p.m., they heard a knock and in walked Oloma. She was dressed in a smart skirt and blouse, carrying a sleek handbag. Her face showed surprise as she saw Adanne sitting on the couch. Sister, you are here, Oloma said. There was a stiffness in her tone that she tried to mask with a smile. Welcome. Sorry I'm late. You're welcome, my dear, Adanne said warmly. Standing up, she considered going in for a hug. But Oloma had already moved past her into the room, complaining lightly. Ah, the traffic was terrible. I'm exhausted. I kept some soup for you. It's still warm, Adanne offered. Oh, thank you, Oloma responded, sounding half-hearted. She went into the kitchen and served herself some soup. When she joined them, she ate quickly. With an absent-minded air, scrolling through her phone as she did. Mercy gave a side eye as if to signal her to be more present, and Oloma put down her phone. Thanks for cooking, sister. So, how are things at home? Encouraged, Adanne updated them about home. She mentioned that Obiora's shop was slowly gaining customers, that the village was the same, that some cousins sent greetings. As she spoke, she noticed Oloma's eyes occasionally glaze over or dart back to her phone screen when it lit up with notifications. It hurt a bit, but she continued talking cheerfully. That night, Adanne slept on a spare mattress they laid out in the small living room. She could hear her sisters whispering in the bedroom, perhaps talking about work or other personal matters. She tried not to eavesdrop, but one phrase from Oloma drifted through the tin door and made Adanne's eyes sting. She means well, but I just wish she could have called again before coming. I had plans this weekend. Adanne's heart clenched. She hadn't realized she might be inconveniencing them so much. She thought showing love and being there was always a good thing, but maybe she was intruding on their independent lives now. The next morning, she left early to catch her bus back to the village. The sisters saw her off and she assured them she was fine and she just needed to get back to help Obiora with the shop. They thanked her for coming, but the farewell felt more routine than before. On the long journey home, Adanne stared out the bus window, feeling a little empty. The children she had sacrificed everything for were now adults forging their own paths. That was a good thing, a wonderful thing. So why did she feel so sad? She reasoned with herself that it was just the natural way of life. Children grow up and focus on their own lives. Her role as a primary caregiver was winding away, and she would have to adjust to that reality. It might mean accepting a smaller role in their lives going forward, but it didn't mean they loved her any less, right? They were just busy. Adanne continued to support them as she could. If any of her siblings ever hinted at needing something, she would still try to provide. But now that they all had some income, the direct requests were fewer. In fact, as more months passed, the calls home grew more and more infrequent. Obiora, still in the village, often commented on this. It's like those two have forgotten us here. He would say with a half-joking tone, city life has made them too busy to remember their humble village folks. Don't say that, Adanne would chide gently, though she felt the sting of truth in his words. They are just trying to stand on their own feet. We should be happy they are independent. I am happy, Obiora said. But you did much for them. The least they could do is call you regularly to check on you. It's not fair to you. Adanne patted her brother's shoulder. Life isn't always balanced, Obiora. We don't do good because we want a reward or thanks. We do it because it's the right thing to do. I'm sure they appreciate everything, even if they don't say it often. But late at night, alone in her room, she sometimes wrestled with her feelings. She never wanted to admit it out loud, but she did feel a growing coldness from her sisters. Days, then weeks, would go by without a phone call from them. When she called, often they were busy or in a hurry to hang up. There were times she wanted to share some news or just hear their voices, and she refrained from calling, worried she might be bothering them at a bad time. Eventually, she reduced her calls too, telling herself that no news was good news. If something was wrong, surely they would reach out. However, she couldn't shake a sense of longing. She missed the closeness they once had, the way they used to confide in her and seek her guidance. Now, when she offered advice, it sometimes seemed to annoy them, as if she were implying they couldn't handle their own affairs. For example, she once gently advised Mercy to save some of her salary for future plans, and Mercy responded in a clipped tone, I know, sister, I'm not a child. I'm managing fine, don't worry. Mercy later apologized for her tone, but the message was clear. They wanted to be seen as capable adults, not children. Adanne understood that, yet she found it hard to completely let go of the caretaker role she had held for so long. One day, news came through a neighbor traveling from Lagos that made Adanne worry. The neighbor mentioned casually that he had heard from someone that the area where her sisters lived saw some layoff at a big company and that jobs were shaky. He wasn't sure if it affected Oloma or Mercy, but he just thought to mention it. Concerned, Adanne tried to reach both her sisters by phone to check in. She managed to reach Mercy, who assured her that her teaching job was fine. Mercy said she hadn't heard anything about layoffs since it was a different sector, and that as far as she knew, Oloma's company was okay too. Mercy seemed a bit irritated by the rumor and by the call. "Where did you even hear that, sister? You worry too much, oh. We are fine, really, we are fine." Relieved that things were okay, Adanne still felt a need to see them. It had been a while since she last did. Obiora also urged her, "Maybe you should go visit them and see for yourself how they are. It might make you feel better. I can take care of myself and the shop for a few days." So a plan formed in her mind to go to Lagos again soon. She decided not to announce it too far in advance. She worried they might try to dissuade her. Instead, she chose a weekend she knew Mercy would be off school and likely at home. She left the village early that Saturday morning, carrying once again a bag of treats and foodstuffs. It was the rainy season, and as fate would have it, the skies were heavy with grey clouds. By the time the bus reached Lagos, it started raining when she got down at the bus stop near her sister's area. A drizzle turned into a steady downpour. Adanne had no umbrella, but she covered her head with a scarf and carried the heavy bag of goods carefully as she navigated the puddle-filled streets. By the time she arrived at their compound gate, she was soaked on the shoulders and arms, but she hardly cared. She was eager to see her sisters. The gateman recognized her from the last visit and gave her a polite nod, but then he looked hesitant. She greeted him kindly, raising her voice a bit over the sound of the rain. "Good afternoon. I'm here to see Oloma and Mercy. I know this rain is heavy. Could you please let me in now?" The gateman scratched his head. "Madam, welcome. But hold on. I need to call them first." He stepped into his small guard post, where there was a phone connected to the apartments. Adanne waited in the rain, shifting from one foot to the other. Her wrapper was getting soaked at the hem and her sandals were muddy. She hoped he would hurry. The gateman came back out after a minute and stood under the little awning of the gate entrance, motioning for her to come closer but not actually opening up yet. He had an uncomfortable look on his face. "I'm sorry, ma," he said, not meeting her eyes. "Madam say she no dey house." Adanne blinked, confused. He spoke in the casual pidgin English, common in Lagos. She translated in her head to be sure she got it right. "Madam said she's not at home." Which madam? Likely Oloma, since she was probably listed as the primary tenant. Not at home? That made no sense. Adanne had intentionally come on a weekend when she expected them to be home. Maybe they stepped out briefly, or maybe the gateman was mistaken. "But I just spoke with Mercy yesterday and told her I might come." Adanne lied. She hadn't told them firmly, but had hinted she might come soon. She didn't say she would be away. "Please, can I come in and wait for them inside? It's raining on me out here." The gateman shifted uncomfortably. "I'm sorry, ma. I just called the house now, and Madam Oloma say nobody dey house, that they travel." Adanne's heart skipped. Travel? Without telling her? They hadn't mentioned any travel plans. Something felt off. She tried peering past the gate into the compound, as if she could somehow see their apartment window from there, but she couldn't. She moved closer to the gate and raised her voice a bit, hoping her sisters might hear her. "Oloma, Mercy!" she called out, her voice carrying desperation. The gateman frowned and shook his head. "Ma, they say they no dey. Maybe you come back another time, eh?" he suggested gently. But as she spoke, a flash of lightning lit up the grey sky, and in that brief moment, between thunder rumbles, Adanne heard it, the faint sound of a familiar voice. It was muffled by the rain and distance, but she could swear it was Mercy's laughter. Mercy had a distinctive, bubbly laugh, and it was coming from inside the compound, maybe from an open window upstairs. Then she thought she heard Oloma's voice as well, though she couldn't make out the words. It sounded like they were chatting with someone, perhaps even enjoying themselves. She realized what was happening. Her sisters were indeed home, but they had instructed the gateman to turn her away, to lie that they were not around. The realization hit her like a punch to the guts. They were avoiding her, intentionally avoiding their own sister. Adanne felt the rain soaked through her clothes, but she was numb to it. "Are you sure they are not home?" she asked the gateman quietly one last time, hoping she was mistaken. He avoided her eyes, focusing somewhere above her head. "Yes, ma. Maybe try calling them on the phone," he offered, likely to ease his own discomfort as much as to help her. Slowly, Adanne nodded, her throat constricted with a surge of emotion, a mix of hurt, anger, confusion, and deep sorrow. She could have argued, could have demanded he let her in, but a sense of dignity stopped her. If her sisters did not want to see her, what good would forcing her way in do? With a heavy heart, she said softly, "Okay, thank you." She adjusted the heavy bag on her head, which was now dripping water. Inside that bag were so many things she had prepared lovingly for them: fresh fruits, homemade bread, a sweater she had knitted for Mercy, some herbs from home that Oloma liked to use in soup. She turned away from the gate. The gateman locked it behind her, perhaps relieved that she didn't cause a scene. Adanne's vision blurred, not just from the rain, but from tears that she could no longer hold back. They mingled with the raindrops on her face as she walked slowly back towards the bus stop, each step feeling heavier than the last. On the road, drivers splashed through puddles, sending sprays of dirty water onto the sidewalks. People hurried by with umbrellas, hardly noticing the drenched woman carrying a big basket. Her shoulders slumped as if carrying the weight of the world. Adanne did not feel the cold or the wet. She was burning on the inside with pain. Everything she had done, every sacrifice upon sacrifice she had made for her siblings, and now to be shut out of their lives this way, she could hardly make sense of it. Had she become an embarrassment to them, a reminder of a past they wanted to forget? Were they simply ungrateful? Or was there some other reason for this cruelty? Her mind raced with questions as thunder rumbled overhead. She stopped for a moment under a small shop's awning to catch her breath and escape the worst of the downpour. Setting down the basket, she covered her face with her hands and let the tears flow freely, her body trembling with silent sobs. All the years of toil, of denying herself any comfort, of turning down love, of living solely for them, it all came crashing down on her in that moment of rejection. In her mind, she saw the little children they once were. Oloma as a girl, clinging to her after their mother's funeral. Mercy laughing and chasing butterflies in the yard. Obiora's tiny hand in hers as she walked him to school. She had poured out all her love to fill the void their parents left. She had been their mother, father, sister, provider, protector. She never imagined that in the end, they might push her away. Eventually, gathering herself, Adanne wiped her face with the edge of her wet wrapper. She looked at the basket of gifts, It was soaked, some of the bread likely ruined, the fruits bruised. A fresh wave of sadness hit her as she realized her effort to bring them comfort was not even wanted. Still, she squared her shoulders. She was not defeated. She told herself she would go home and she would continue living her life. Her sacrifices were never for reward or thanks. They were acts of love. If that love was not returned in the same measure now, perhaps one day her siblings would realize what she had done for them. Perhaps they were just caught up in their new lives and would regret this moment of coldness. Or perhaps not. Regardless, she knew she had done right by them, and that knowledge had to be enough. As the rain continued to fall, Adanne stepped back onto the road to find transport back to the motor park. Each step was heavy. Each step was heartbreaking. This chapter of her life that had been filled with purpose and unity was now ending in a way she never expected, with distance and pain. She did not know what the future held, but she knew one thing as she left that gated compound behind. She would always love her siblings, and that love would forever remain a part of her, even if now it was a source of sorrow. And so, with sacrifice upon sacrifice behind her, and perhaps more sacrifices to come, Adanne journeyed back home in the rain, her tears invisible among the raindrops, her heart silently calling out the names of the sisters who would not hear her.
Adanne got home very late that night. She wasn't able to do anything. She just went straight to the bed. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. One day, Adanne sat on the stool outside her shop in the village, staring at the dusty road that led to the bus park. The sun was dipping slowly behind the tall palm trees, and a soft breeze carried the scent of roasted corn from a neighbor's store. She had just returned from Lagos not too long ago, but her heart was still unsettled. The memory of her sister's coldness lingered like a stubborn wound that refused to heal. She kept asking herself the same question. Why had Mercy and Oloma changed so much? They had once been little girls who clung to her wrappers and begged her to plait their hair. She had raised them with love of a mother when their parents died. But now, in Lagos, they had looked at her as if she were nothing but an embarrassment. Their mocking voices still echoed in her mind, and the giggles of their city friends cut through her chest like knives. One evening, after closing her food stall, Adanne sat alone in her living room with a dim kerosene lamp flickering beside her. She whispered to herself, "Maybe I judged them too quickly. Maybe I should go and spend time with them. Perhaps I will see their true hearts when we are together for longer. They are still my sisters, and blood is stronger than pride." That thought became a decision. Adanne tied her wrapper tightly the next morning, packed some food items in a raffia bag, dried fish, palm oil, and fresh garri, and made her way to the bus park. The journey to Lagos was long, bumpy, and filled with noise, but she endured it with a faint hope in her heart that this time her sisters would treat her better. By late evening, she arrived in the bustling city. The bright lights, the endless noise of honking cars, and the crushing crowd overwhelmed her senses. Holding her bag tightly, she made her way to Mercy's house first. When Adanne knocked on the door, Mercy opened it and froze in surprise. She wore a stylish gown, her hair in long braids, and her face covered with light makeup. "Sister Adanne," Mercy's tone was flat, and her eyes immediately scanned Adanne's faded blouse and worn slippers. Adanne forced a smile. "Yes, it's me. I came to see you. It has been long." Mercy stepped aside reluctantly, and Adanne walked in. The living room smelled of expensive air freshener. There were glass tables, a large flat screen TV, and neatly arranged leather chairs. Seated on the chairs were three of Mercy's friends, all dressed in glittering outfits. They turned and stared at Adanne with curious, almost mocking smiles. "Good evening," Adanne greeted politely, bowing her head slightly. The ladies responded with faint nods. One of them whispered something to the other, and they giggled softly. Mercy quickly excused herself from them and pulled Adanne into the corridor. "Sister, why didn't you call me before coming?" Mercy asked in a low voice, her brows furrowed. I wanted to surprise you," Adanne replied gently. "I brought some things from the village for you." She raised her raffia bag with a hopeful smile. Mercy sighed, clearly irritated. "You should have called. I have guests, and you look tired from the journey. Come, I will show you the room." Adanne's heart sank at the tone, but she followed quietly. Mercy led her to a small guest room at the back. It was neat, with a mattress on the floor and a folded blanket. "You can stay here tonight. Tomorrow we will talk," Mercy said before hurrying back to her friends. Alone in the room, Adanne placed the raffia bag in a corner and sat on the mattress. She could hear laughter and conversations from the sitting room. Occasionally, a burst of giggles erupted, followed by Mercy's voice. Adanne could not shake the feeling that the laughter was partly about her. Tears welled in her eyes, but she wiped them quickly. "They are my sisters. Maybe tomorrow will be better." The next day, Mercy introduced Adanne to her friends. They sat around the sitting room, sipping wine and scrolling through their shiny phones. Adanne sat quietly in one corner, her hands folded in her lap. She tried to smile whenever someone looked her way. One of the ladies asked loudly, "Mercy, who is she? Your house help?" Mercy's eyes widened and she forced a laugh. No, she's my older sister from the village." The ladies exchanged knowing looks and chuckled. "Oh, from the village," one said with a smirk, as though the word itself carried shame. Another lady leaned forward and asked, "Sister Adanne, do you use WhatsApp or Instagram?" Adanne shook her head shyly. "No, I only use a small phone for calls." The lady laughed so hard that she nearly spilled her drink. "Oh my God, she doesn't even use WhatsApp. Mercy, how do you cope?" Mercy smiled weakly but said nothing. Adanne sat in silence, her cheeks burning with shame. She stayed in the house for 2 days, but each day was filled with such moments: snide comments, mocking glances, and Mercy's clear discomfort with her presence. On the third morning, she packed her bags and quietly told Mercy, "I will go back home. Thank you for hosting me." Mercy nodded quickly, almost in relief. "Safe journey, sister. Greet the people in the village." She didn't offer transport money, didn't hug her tightly. Adanne walked out, her heart heavy as a stone. Not long after, the news of Oloma's wedding spread. She was marrying a wealthy businessman in Victoria Island. Adanne heard it from a neighbor in the market, not from her sister. Still, she decided to go to Lagos and try to attend. She arrived at the wedding hall, wearing her best wrapper and blouse, with a small head tie neatly knotted. But when she got to the entrance, the usher asked for her invitation card. "I don't have one," Adanne said softly. "I am her elder sister." The usher frowned. "Without an invitation, you cannot enter." Adanne stood hopelessly, watching other guests walk in with glittering gowns and suits. She begged the usher, "Please, tell Oloma that Adanne is here. She will want me inside." The usher eventually went in, but returned with a cold message. "Madam said she is too busy. If you don't have an invitation, you should leave." Adanne's knees nearly gave way. She stood outside the decorated hall, listening to the sound of music and laughter inside. She saw Oloma briefly when she came out to take photos with guests. Dressed in a dazzling white gown, she looked radiant, but her eyes slid over Adanne as if she were a stranger. Adanne turned away and walked slowly back to the bus park. Her eyes were blurred with tears. "So this is what I have become to them," she whispered to herself. Later, Mercy too had her wedding. It was grand, attended by pastors, politicians, and dignitaries. Again, Adanne was not invited. She only saw photos later on Facebook, where Mercy posed with her new husband, smiling broadly. The caption read, "A wedding to remember." Adanne felt invincible, erased from the lives of those she had raised. Through all this, Adanne comforted herself with thought of her younger brother Obiora. He had always been close to her. Although, months back, Obinna has already gotten a new job in Lagos. She felt so happy that her brother Obinna had gotten a good job in Lagos. She was filled with joy. "At least, Obiora will remember me," she told herself. Then one day, she traveled again to see him. She found him in a sleek office building in Ikeja, wearing a suit and tie. He looked confident, successful, and very different from the boy she once knew. "Obiora!" Adanne exclaimed, her face lighting up with pride. He smiled, but it was a thin smile. "Sister, what are you doing here? You should have called." "I just wanted to see you," Adanne said, her voice soft. "I am so proud of you." Obinna glanced around nervously, as if embarrassed by her presence. "Sister, you can't just show up like this. My colleagues, they don't understand village people." Adanne froze. Village people? Was that what he now saw when he looked at her? He sighed and added, "Mercy and Oloma told me how you embarrassed them before their friends. You should not visit us without notice again. It is better." Adanne's chest tightened as though a rope was being pulled around her heart. Her own brother, the boy she murdered, was now speaking to her like a burden. She nodded slowly, tears tinging her eyes. "I see," she whispered. "I am sorry." Then Adanne left that day with a broken heart. Back in the village, Adanne buried herself in work. She cooked food at the market every day, sewing clothes occasionally to add to her earnings. Her life became a rhythm of survival. Cook, sell, sew, sleep, and repeat. But her heart remained heavy with pain. Her sisters had mocked her, their friends had laughed at her, and her brother had joined them in treating her like an outsider. The family she had once sacrificed everything for was now united against her. At night, she often sat with a kerosene lamp flickering, staring at the shadows on the wall. Tears would flow freely as she whispered to herself, "I was their mother, their father, their everything. But now, I am nothing to them." Yet, in the quiet of her sorrow, she held on to a fragile hope that one day, God would turn the tables and they would remember her worth. The days after Obiora's rejections were some of the hardest in Adanne's life. She had always believed that no matter what happened, her younger brother would never turn his back on her. But now, even he joined Mercy and Oloma in treating her like a burden. Each time she remembered his words, "My colleagues don't understand village people," her chest tightened with unbearable pain. Still, Adanne refused to let sorrow swallow her completely. She woke up every morning before sunrise, tied her wrapper firmly, lit her firewood stove, and started cooking. If she allowed herself to stay too long in bed, her thoughts would drag her into the dark places of despair. But in the market, surrounded by the smell of food, the chatter of customers, and the clanging of pots, She could at least distract herself from her broken heart. Adanne returned fully to her food stall. Every day, she prepared large pots of jollof rice, beans, yam porridge, okra soup, and sometimes akara. Traders, drivers, farmers, and even school children gathered around her small shade to eat. Her food was always tasty and well prepared. She cooked with love and people could feel it in every bite. Even though her heart ached, she smiled at customers. "You're welcome, my brother. Sit down, let me serve you. Don't worry, my sister. I will add small extra meat for you." Her kindness kept them coming back. Slowly, her small profits grew. At night, after cleaning her pot and resting her tired legs, she would sometimes bring out her sewing machine. It was an old black manual machine, a gift from a late neighbor, but it still worked. Adanne mended torn dresses for villagers and sewed simple skirts and blouses. It was not steady work, but the little she earned, she added to her cooking business too. Weeks turned into months, and Adanne noticed something. People were recommending her food beyond her village. Travelers who passed through asked, "Where is that woman who cooked the sweet beans?" Some even packed food to carry home. This gave her courage. One evening, as she counted her daily earnings, Adanne whispered to herself, "Maybe I should think bigger. This store is too small. I need a proper shop." Adanne saved diligently. She stopped buying new clothes for herself. She cut down on little treats like meat pie or cold soft drinks. Every extra naira went into her saving box. Months later, she had enough to rent a shop by the roadside. The shop was bigger than her market stall, with space for wooden tables and benches where customers could sit. Adanne painted the walls bright yellow and hung a hand-painted signboard outside, "Adanne Food Joint." On the opening day, she prepared her best dishes: jollof rice with fried chicken, egusi soup with pounded yam, beans and plantain, and fresh palm wine. The shop filled quickly with customers, and people praised her endlessly. "This place is fine," one man said, licking his fingers. "Adanne, you are doing well," a woman added. "Your food sweet past any restaurant in the town," another customer declared. Adanne's heart swelled with pride. She thought of her siblings in Lagos and wished they could see her achievement. But she quickly reminded herself not to hope for their praise. They have moved on without her. Even with her business growing, Adanne could not silence the pain in her heart. Some evenings after closing the shop, she would sit in her house and cry quietly. She imagined Mercy in her big church, Oloma in her mansion, and Obiora in his sleek office. They had everything: money, comfort, friends, while she only had her pot and sewing machine. Sometimes villagers gossiped about her situation. "It's strange," one woman whispered. "Her siblings are rich, but she still struggles like this." Another replied, "Maybe they don't want to help her because she looks too old-fashioned, or what do you want me to say now?" Adanne heard these words, and each one pierced her heart, but she forced herself to smile in public. "Let them talk," she told herself. "God sees everything." One scorchy afternoon, Adanne had a very busy day. Many travelers stopped at her shop, and she was rushing to serve everyone. The smoke from the firewood stung her eyes. The heat from the boiling pot drenched her in sweat, but she kept going. By late afternoon, her legs trembled from exhaustion. She had not eaten since morning. As she bent to lift a heavy pot of soup, a sharp dizziness struck her. The ground tilted beneath her feet, and before she could call for help, her body gave way. She collapsed to the ground. The pot spilling beside her. Gasps filled the air. "Adanne! Adanne!" customers shouted, rushing towards her. Her vision blurred, and she felt herself drifting into darkness. Through the haze, she felt strong arms lifting her gently. A familiar voice said, It's okay, Adanne, I'm here. Slowly, she opened her eyes and saw a few faces leaning over her. Her heart skipped. It was Ikenna, her childhood friend. Ikenna, she whispered weakly. Yes, it's me, he replied, his eyes full of concern. Don't worry, you will be fine. He carried her away from the crowd and took her home. There, he helped her lie on her bed, fetched water from her pot, and stayed by her side. Adanne was too weak to speak much, but her heart was full of gratitude. When she woke up properly in the evening, Ikenna was still there. He smiled warmly. You gave me a scare, Adanne. You fainted from exhaustion. You must take care of yourself. Tears filled her eyes. Thank you, Ikenna. I thought I was alone in this world, but God sent you. From that day onward, Ikenna visited her often. He helped her buy firewood, repaired her leaking roof, and even stood by her in the shop sometimes. Their friendship rekindled, bringing warmth into Adanne's lonely life. While Adanne's heart began to heal, life in Lagos was changing for her siblings. Mercy's husband, the pastor, was caught in a scandal. Members of the church accused him of misusing church funds and secretly dating a woman in the choir. The matter spread like wildfire, and the church elders stripped him of his position. Overnight, Mercy went from being a celebrated pastor's wife to a disgraced woman. People whispered when she walked by, and her friends abandoned her. Oloma too faced disgrace. Her wealthy husband was arrested for fraud. All her flashy cars and houses were seized. From living in luxury, she suddenly found herself hiding from police and creditors. The same society friends who once praised her beauty and wealth now mocked her downfall. Obiora, who had been proud of his city job, lost everything when the company he worked for shut down after a corruption scandal. He had no savings, and his so-called colleagues turned their backs on him. One by one, the siblings who had mocked Adanne began to taste bitterness. It was Mercy who came first. She arrived at the village one evening, dressed simply, with a scarf covering her hair. She looked thinner, her eyes swollen from crying. When she knocked on Adanne's door, her hands trembled. Adanne opened the door and froze in shock. Mercy. Sister. Mercy burst into tears and fell to her knees. Forgive me. I have nowhere else to go. My husband disgraced me and abandoned me. I need you. I need you, sister. Adanne's eyes softened. Without a word, she lifted her sister up and embraced her tightly. You are welcome, Mercy. This is still your home. It is your father's house. Later, Oloma came too. She arrived quietly, carrying only a small bag. Sister Adanne, she said in a broken voice, everything I boasted about is gone. I have nothing. Please, forgive me. Adanne took her hand gently. Come in, Oloma. You are still my sister. Even Obiora eventually returned, humbled and ashamed. He could not meet Adanne's eyes when he said, I was wrong, sister. I forgot who stood for me when no one else did. Please forgive me. Adanne's heart, though once broken, was big enough to hold them all again. She forgave each of them, not because it was easy, but because love was stronger than pride. And so, the siblings who once mocked her now sat under her roof, eating her food and finding comfort in her kindness. They finally began to understand the truth. The sister they rejected was the one who would save them. The days following the return of Mercy, Oloma and Obiora to the village were filled with quiet emotions. At first, Adanne could hardly believe it. Her siblings, who once mocked and rejected her, now sat in her humble home, eating her food and looking to her for comfort. They had fallen from their high places in the city, and life had brought them back to the sister they once called to village. Adanne's heart, though bruised from years of rejection, was still soft with love. She welcomed them with open arms. This is your home, she told them gently. You are my blood, and blood cannot be thrown away. The siblings cried as they listened, ashamed of their past actions. For the first time in many years, they sat together like a family, sharing stories, laughing weakly through their tears, and remembering the simple days of childhood. One evening, as they sat around Adanne's small table eating yam porridge, Obiora cleared his throat nervously. Sister, I have been thinking, this your food business is too big for this small shop. You need a proper restaurant. Mercy and Oloma nodded quickly. Yes, Adanne, Mercy said softly. The whole village talks about your food. People even travel from other towns to buy it. With a restaurant, you can serve more people. Adanne chuckled, shaking her head. Ah, my little ones, do you think opening a restaurant is easy? It needs money, space, and plenty of work. But Ikenna, who had been quietly watching from the corner, leaned forward and said firmly, Adanne, they are right. You have a gift. With proper support, this gift can shine brighter than you ever imagined. Let us all join hands and build something together. There was a silence in the room, and then Adanne saw something in her siblings' faces she had not seen in years. Humility. They were no longer proud city people. They were broken, softened, and ready to work. So the decision was made. They would build a proper restaurant, and they would name it after the woman who had sacrificed everything for them, Adanne's kitchen. The following weeks were filled with activity. They rented a larger building close to the main village square, a location where travelers and villagers passed daily. The place was old and dusty, with cracked walls and broken windows, but under Ikenna's guidance, it was transformed. Obiora painted the walls a bright cream color and helped fix the roof. Mercy swept and scrubbed until the floors shone. Oloma surprised everyone with her skill at arranging furniture. She insisted that customers should feel comfortable, so she decorated the place with colorful curtains and flower pots. Ikenna designed a simple signboard that read in bold letters, Adanne's Kitchen, tasty meals, warm hearts. When the work was done, they stood outside together and admired it. Adanne's eyes filled with tears. I never thought I would see this day, she whispered. This is just the beginning, Ikenna told her with a smile. The grand opening of Adanne's Kitchen was a festival in itself. Villagers trooped in, curious and excited. The aroma of jollof rice, egusi soup, and peppered chicken filled the air. Customers sat on the new wooden benches, eating with joy. Children licked their plates, and elders nodded in satisfaction. Adanne, this is the best food in the whole town, one man declared. With this plate, you will never lack, another woman said. The siblings moved like a team. Obiora handled money at the cashier's corner. Mercy served food with a bright smile, and Oloma attended to customers, making sure no one was left unattended. Adanne, of course, remained the heart of it all, moving between the kitchen and the tables, her hands always busy, her face glowing with happiness. By evening, the food was completely sold out. The cash box was heavy, and laughter filled the restaurant as they counted the day's earning. For the first time, Adanne felt something she thought she had lost forever: belonging. In the weeks that followed, Ikenna became a constant presence. He supported the business, advised on management, and stood by Adanne in every decision. Their old friendship blossomed into something deeper. One evening, after the restaurant had closed and the siblings had gone home, Ikenna asked Adanne to walk with him under the moonlight. The air was cool, and the stars twinkled brightly. Adanne, he began softly, I have known you since you were children. I saw how you carried burdens too heavy for one person, how you gave everything for your siblings, and how life treated you unfairly. But through it all, You never stopped loving. You are the strongest, kindest woman I know. Adanne's heart raced as she listened. Ikenna paused, then went down on one knee. From his pocket, he brought out a small ring. Adanne, will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life loving you the way you deserve? Tears rolled down Adanne's cheeks. For a moment, she could not speak. Then she whispered, "Yes, Ikenna, yes, I will marry you." The village echoed with joy when the news spread. At last, Adanne, the woman who had been mocked and forgotten, was going to marry a man who truly valued her. The wedding was beautiful. It was not held in a grand city hall, but in the village church. Neighbors, friends, and church members attended in large numbers. Mercy sang in the choir with tears streaming down her face. Oloma helped decorate and serve guests proudly. Obiora stood tall as the one to give his sister's hand in marriage. When the pastor declared them husband and wife, and Ikenna kissed Adanne gently, the whole congregation clapped and cheered. For the first time in a long while, the siblings stood united, their hearts bound together by love and forgiveness. Not long after the wedding, Ikenna revealed a surprise. With help from her siblings, he had applied for Adanne to attend a culinary training course in the United States. At first, Adanne protested, "I cannot leave the restaurant, and who will take care of all of you?" But Mercy, Oloma, and Obiora insisted, "You have given us everything, sister. Now let us give you back. We will manage the restaurant. You must go and learn. This is your time." With tears in her eyes, Adanne agreed. Soon, she and Ikenna traveled to America. Adanne found herself in modern culinary school, dressed in a white chef's uniform with her name embroidered on it. The kitchens were filled with shining pots and pans, ovens she had never seen before, and ingredients from around the world. At first, she felt nervous, but with each passing day, she gained confidence. She prepared Nigerian meals and introduced them to her classmates, who marveled at the taste. "This jollof rice is amazing," one student exclaimed. Her teachers praised her creativity and passion. One special day, she stood before a panel of chefs, serving a dish she had created, egusi soup fusion, combining Nigerian tradition with modern techniques. They applauded her loudly. Adanne's heart swelled with pride. She thought of her small restaurant in the village and whispered to herself, "Look how far God has brought me." Months later, Adanne returned to Nigeria with Ikenna by her side. The village welcomed them with drums, dancing and singing. A big celebration was held at Adanne's kitchen, now even more popular than before. She found her siblings thriving too. Mercy had started a tailoring shop. With the skills she learned from Adanne, Oloma opened a small bakery attached to the restaurant. Obiora managed the accounts and had become responsible and wise. Adanne smiled proudly. "This is what family should be," she told them. Before leaving for America again to settle with her husband, Ikenna, Adanne made sure her siblings were well established. She gave Mercy money to expand her tailoring shop, helped Oloma register her bakery officially, and supported Obiora to open a big electronics business. Together, they agreed to manage Adanne's kitchen as a family business, using the house their father left behind as their headquarters. Each one had a role, and they worked hand in hand, no longer competing or mocking, but lifting each other. Adanne and Ikenna then moved back to the USA, where she continued to improve her skills, but she visited home often, and the bond of love between them remained unbroken. Years later, Adanne stood in her beautiful American home with Ikenna by her side. She reflected on her journey, from rejection and mockery, to fainting in the market, to being lifted by love and forgiveness. It had all shaped her into who she was. She wrote these words in her journal: "Never forget the people who sacrificed for you. Money can vanish, but love and gratitude keep a family together." And whenever she returned to Nigeria, she repeated the words to her siblings, reminding them that family, not riches, was the true treasure of life. The most important lesson in this story is that no matter how much you sacrifice, people may forget, but life will always reward patience, love, and resilience. It shows that even when family or people you helped turn their backs on you, life has a way of turning things around in your favor. And with that, my dear friends, our story comes to a close. But remember, the magic of storytelling lives on, waiting to whisk us away on new adventures, where the wonders of imagination know no bounds. Goodbye for now, and may your dreams be filled with joy, wonder, and endless possibility. Thank you so much for watching. Please kindly comment, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting stories.